So a super popular question for moving to Mexico is how much does it cost? What should my budget be in Mexico? And unfortunately, kind of like if you were to ask, how much do you need to live in the US? Like the answers are extremely varied. And so for myself, you've already seen my weekly budget, you already know how much I pay for rent, all of that jazz. But I thought I would let you know that as I was moving to Merida, as I was moving to San Cris, my number one resource for figuring out the cost or predicting the cost of the location was a website called Expatistan.com. And there are several. You've got like Numbeo, and International Living, I think, has some pretty decent information about how much to expect for your cost of living in Mexico and other places in general. But I'm a fan of Expatistan because it seems to be updated pretty regularly and it served me well. That being said, it's not perfect. And so I thought I would actually go over the cost of living for San Cristobal and at least my experience with their breakdown of the costs. So here we go. Okay, so we're just gonna compare what they say about Mexico in general, which I cannot confirm or deny because that's just a really large area to kind of figure out, versus San Cristobal in particular. So according to Expatistan.com, a single person living in Mexico should expect to pay about $1,067 US a month, whereas in San Cris, a single should pay basically $700 US a month. Do I think that's true? So first, lifestyle really plays into this. I think if you wanted to live in San Cris for $700 US a month, you could, but it would be a struggle. It would be a struggle, I think, just finding a place. Not impossible, certainly, and especially if you're willing to, let's say, rent out a room as opposed to having an entire place to yourself, then I think for sure 700 US would definitely work. But if you're wanting your own place, I think 687 would be rough. I think closer to 1,067, even in San Cris or Merida for that matter, would be much more comfortable and kind of realistic. For example, here in San Cris, I would say my base budget for Alex and myself is about 1,060 US a month, and in Merida it was about $1,150 a month. So it's about $100 difference between there and here. Again, the lifestyle is a little bit different between the two places. I do feel like I'm paying for more things here than I did in Merida, but overall, that's my current budget. Now again, my $1,150 was having lived in Merida for a year and a half, whereas my 1,060-ish is having lived in San Cris only for a few months. So it's not as developed, it's not as routine. But that's for a family of two. I find that Alex doesn't really increase my cost of living that much, and so I have a hard time imagining living here for $700 US just because I don't have Alex. So as an example, I am living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I sleep on the couch, which turns into a bed. So that's kind of how we make it work for two people. Now the price I'm paying for this house, I would imagine is much more than what a local would pay because I didn't negotiate. I literally came up with the budget that I was comfortable with, told my Airbnb host, hey, this is how much I'm willing to pay each month. Is that okay? And she was like, sure, that works. But just my point is, I think it would be rough. I think it would be rough, not impossible, to live for that amount. The biggest differentiator would definitely be your accommodations and how you're able to deal with that aspect. But again, according to Expatistan, it's saying basically $700 a month for a single and then close to $1,800 for a family of 4. I think a family of 4 at $1,800 probably would work. 2 parents, 2 kids concept. Yeah, I think $1,770 would definitely work. Okay, so breaking down food, lunch with drink. It's suggesting that Mexico in general is $234, but that San Cris is 114 pesos for a lunch item, and I would agree. I would say your average meal is about 100 pesos and your average drink is in the 15 to 20 peso category. So 114 for a basic meal, probably accurate. For a combo meal, I'm thinking like McDonald's type places. So I'll say that unlike the US where we perceive fast food, we perceive McDonald's, etc., as being inexpensive, like it's the cheap place to go. In Mexico, my experience is it's more expensive because now we're talking about imported items. Burger King is giving you a taste of the US in Mexico, and so you're actually paying a little bit more. So it's probably accurate for it to suggest that a combo meal is more than, let's say, going out to a regular restaurant here. I think that's accurate. I think that's fair. A liter of whole milk, we don't buy milk, but I believe it's probably around 21 pesos. 12 eggs, when I go to the bodega, I buy 18 eggs for like 36 pesos. So for 12 eggs, I think 31 would be kind of expensive. However, again, it depends on where you shop. Eggs are different prices in different locations. I've seen it where one egg costs 5 pesos. One egg, 5 pesos. 2 pounds of tomatoes for 22 pesos, probably right. That's probably about right here. 2 pounds of apples for 47? Maybe. So I don't ever buy a pound of apples, ever. So we'll see. 2 pounds of potato for 24? Yes, I think that's probably about right. I do not buy beer, so I have no idea if it's really 28 pesos. Bottle of red wine. I also do not purchase bottles of wine, but I would imagine 200 is probably a good price for a bottle of red wine. But I think in San Crist, you could definitely pay more. That's my guess. 2 liters of Coke, 33 pesos, probably right. Probably right. Bread for 2 people for 1 day. Ooh. So a French baguette can cost about 25 pesos. So from that aspect, yes, 24 pesos for 2 people for 1 day, yes. But I can also buy 10 Subway sandwiches, not Subway the restaurant, but just like a sub sandwich, bread, just bread. I could buy 10 of those for 22 pesos at the bodega. So you could definitely go cheaper on bread, but I would say 24 is a fair amount for a day. Housing is one of those things that changes. So one, lots of people, I think, are moving to Mexico. Lots of people from the US are moving to Mexico. And so that is driving housing prices way, way up. Please keep that in mind. I think it's going higher and higher. And I think that a place, so let's say Merida, had about 900,000 people when I was there, and it's a rapidly growing place. There are often new restaurants opening up. The city itself is becoming bigger physically. Like, people are moving on the outskirts of Merida, and so there's a lot of construction happening. There's a lot of new homes happening with the intention of attracting US or foreign, expat residents. So they're definitely charging much, much more. And I think the difference between, let's say, a place like Merida and San Crist is about 200,000 strong. We're not seeing as much new construction as we saw in Merida. They're not building houses for us. Now, I do definitely see a good amount of homes or restaurants and stores, all of that, being improved, right? So they are taking the homes that already exist and they are improving it, I think, with the idea either of, creating a new restaurant or creating an Airbnb, creating a new house. So there is improvement happening, but what there's not necessarily as much new construction happening here, especially if you compare it to a place like Merida. But what we are seeing is more and more visitors, right? Because San Crist is considered kind of a touristy area that people from around Mexico and the world, they come here for 3 days, a week, a month, 3 months, right? They come here for short periods of time. So you are seeing places being renovated for like an Airbnb concept and such, but you're not necessarily seeing new construction. And so I think the prices of homes is much more rapidly increasing here. Now, Karen was recently looking for a new place to live. Cannot wait for her video to come out. But prior to finding this location, we went to several places within San Crist, and I would say 8,000 for 900 square feet in an expensive area is outdated. I would bet that the average is distinctly more, especially for an expensive place. And here, I think they marked it as like an expensive area is 88. I think San Crist, it's really a matter of whether the home is catered to foreigners as opposed to locals. And I think the places that are truly catered to foreigners are much more expensive than 8,000 for a 900 square feet. So my current house it's 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and it's maybe 500 square feet. And I pay 9,500. Now my price we'll do another video on specifically looking at housing. I did not negotiate my housing price. I say again, I did not negotiate. So it's entirely possible, I firmly believe, that my offer of $9,500 was higher than she would have charged me had we negotiated, had we had a chat about it. So just keep this in mind. For my furnished place, I'm paying $9,500. Karen, for her first place, I believe she was paying $12,000. She had a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And again, we've been looking at several places, and I would say for 900 square feet, 8,000 or 9,000 pesos is on the low end. And this is saying in an expensive area. Normal for 58. Now, if you had somebody local negotiating for you, if you had somebody local doing the paperwork, maybe, let me know. Let me know how long you've lived here. Are you paying less than 9,000 for a 900 square feet place? Now I will say my 9,500 covers the house, it covers the furniture, my electricity, my gas, my internet. So I literally pay 0 utilities in this house. But even at that, according, if I were to add those numbers together, according to Expatistan, I should be paying 7,000. So I'm paying 9,500 instead of the 7,000. That's what I'm paying. But let me know, are you from San Cris? I know I'm overpaying. Am I grossly overpaying? Cause I feel like I'm not grossly overpaying. But 40-inch flat screen, no idea how much that would cost here. So I don't have a microwave, I don't really use microwaves, but I know I've seen microwaves for like 2,500 pesos. I would be shocked if they were at 4,800. So I think that's a bit high. Yeah, so it might depend on where you're buying that from. I do not pay for laundry detergent. What I will do after I record this is I'll go to the bodega that's nearby and we'll see what their prices are. So we'll see how much the laundry is. I pay for a lavanderia, I don't pay for that. Housekeeper, I do not have a housekeeper here. I did have a housekeeper in Merida. She charged $350 for a day, and I would say a day was about 6 hours. And so from that aspect, it's 58 pesos an hour. She charged $350. After, I don't think it was even a month of her working for me, I actually bumped it up to 500 pesos, which I know. And in my defense, the reason I started paying her 500 pesos is because I realized that she was commuting to my house for 2 hours. 2 hours to me and 2 hours back home. At the same time, once she was working for me, I became much more familiar with the cost of buses. And I felt like, she's easily losing 150 pesos a day just to come to me. So if I'm paying 350 and she's losing 150, she's only making 200 pesos a day. I felt some kind of way about that. And so I was like, you know what? I am able to pay more. In my mind, I basically just bumped it up 150 to cover her travel expenses, like 120, 150 pesos to get to me. Yeah, anyway, it didn't sit well with me, so I did start paying her 500, which makes it an 83 peso an hour concept, which is apparently Mexico's average. So and it's saying here that a housekeeper in San Cris will cost more. I truly believe it is because the lack of numbers. We're 200,000 strong. And so I think there's just not as many housekeeper availability here as maybe there was in Merida. So it's not as competitive. So it makes sense to me that you're gonna pay more here than you would there. I have not experienced housekeepers here, and I don't think any of my friends have any housekeepers for me to ask those questions. Give me a few months more, I'll probably get a housekeeper here and we can talk a little bit more in detail, but it just offhand, it makes sense because of the number of people that live here, or more accurately, the number of people that do not live here, that it would cost more for a housekeeper here. Okay, clothing. I actually recently went clothes shopping. So it's saying that a pair of jeans costs $15.89. This is talking about brand name. I am not a fashionista. I will say that I recently bought a new pair of jeans from a store that I'd never heard of called Iway. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Great pair of jeans. I think I had to get male jeans, and I know that because of the sizing. But my particular jeans cost 1,030 pesos, so it was much cheaper than the $15.89. I think if I were a much more common size for Mexico, I could get it for much less. I have not bought a dress here, but I would say you could buy one for less than 1,000. Again, depends on your style, your preference. Sports shoes, so I recently bought hiking boots from a brand called Discovery, which is not a brand I'm familiar with. I bought it on sale, so it was originally 1,300. I bought it for 987 pesos, so almost 1,000. I think it's good quality that will last me for a while. A good quality like sneaker or hiking boot, it's probably going to be imported. That being said, I've also purchased sandals for 150 pesos that I think will last me the entire time. It's just not something I would wear hiking, if that makes sense. But walking around San Cris, that's how much those shoes cost. No idea what a new car costs, but I would be surprised if a car that normally costs 350,000 in Mexico only costs 140,000 here, brand new. I'm gonna disagree. A liter of gas, I think in Merida a liter was in the 20 peso category. Cold medicine for 85, pretty accurate I think. Antibiotics for 200. I would lean, it's probably closer to 200 than 179, but nonetheless, comparable. Visit to a private doctor, I've only gone once. It cost me 400 pesos for me to visit him. Same doctor visiting people in their home costs 600 pesos. Not bad at all. I do not buy tampons because I use the silicone cups. Deodorant 52, comparable. Shampoo, 2-in-1 shampoo. I don't buy 2-in-1 shampoo, but for 52 pesos, probably comparable. Four rolls of toilet paper, 34 pesos. I feel like that's expensive. Tube of toothpaste for 35 pesos, probably. Men's haircut in an expat area. I will say in Merida, I got my hair cut for 70 pesos, and my friend Karen just got her hair highlighted for $60 US, and then her girls got their hair colored for more than that. I want to say $115 US. For a simple cut, 75 pesos, probably realistic. I have not had my hair cut here in San Cris, so I'm not 100%, but I think it's realistic. Dinner for two at a pub, $230. I can see that. Tickets to the movie theater, $158 for 2 tickets. Here, there's only one, what we would call a movie theater from a US perspective, and that's the Cinépolis, and it costs 74 pesos a person or 58 for a child. So then it would be 148 for 2 people, not including food and drinks, right? A cocktail drink for 64, depends on where you go, but I think that's fair. Cappuccino for 43. I don't buy cappuccinos, I tend to buy cafes. On the street, I can buy a small cup for about 10 pesos. They are between 20 to 25 pesos when I go to an actual coffee house. I don't drink beer and I don't smoke, so I've got no ideas about these prices. So that wraps up my review of Expatistan.com. I think, big picture, the things that it's getting wrong are negligible. If you focus just on how much it recommends for a family of 4, that's kind of the safer number to look at. Again, I'm a family of 2 with a dog, and I look at that number a lot. So I think $1,700 here in San Cris will be a very comfortable life for a family of 4, certainly for a family of 2. I generally spend less than $1,100 a month currently in San Cris for myself, my son, and my dog. As always though, if you are coming here as a long-term tourist, keep in mind that every 6 months you have to find someplace else to go, and that can significantly affect your monthly budget. So overall, I am a huge fan of Expatistan. I think it gives a really great kind of overall big picture of the location. So I highly recommend it, but keep in mind that numbers are always fluctuating. And a website like Expatistan, which is really relying on expats putting in the information, they're more likely to get a much more accurate number from a larger city. So the Merida number is much more accurate perhaps than San Cris, because Merida has 900,000 people in there. And so there's just a larger sample size, and you're going to get more data entry points, whereas San Cris, most expats don't live here for months and months and years. And so of those people, a very, very small percentage actually go in and put in the data information. So if you are living in Mexico, anywhere in Mexico, and you've been here for at least 6 months, and I really think 6 months is a nice chunk of time, I think it'd be great if you go to Expatistan.com and kind of give them your data points. How much did you pay for cold medicine? How much did you pay for a pair of nice jeans, etc.? Enter that information so that the website is more and more accurate, but nonetheless, the way it is now, I think it's a decent starting off point. When you first arrive at a place, especially if you're on a budget, do your best to kind of live closer to minimally, so you can figure out what your foundational monthly price is, and then once you kind of have that number, start to add in those little experiences that you enjoy. If you enjoy getting a massage, pedicures, you enjoy going out to nice restaurants, whatnot, do that slowly so that you don't shock your budget. And so you can kind of know, if I had to, this is the budget that I could be living on, but for moments when you want to splurge, this is how much it could go to, just so you know what your budget is. And I am always curious, have you ever entered information into a site like Expatistan or Numbeo or any of those other kind of expat budget website? I'm curious to know, because I can tell you that I have never actually entered data into any of these sites